Guys, I've been asked to make sense of the Bkfc rankings. This is a short video. It's impossible. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm back from another workout, bucked up, ready to rock. Use the promo code Mike and Mish 20 if you want to get some bucked up supplements because I'm jacked up every single day now. I use the Woke AF gummy, white gummy deer. Delicious. Anyways, I've been asked to try to make sense of the Bkfc rankings. And at this point, that is an extremely tough task. There's certain things on here I do like. I got it pulled up on my computer over here, so if I look away, don't fault me for that one. Starting with the pound for pound rankings, of course, Lorenzo Hunt is the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. Well deserved. He's just an absolute animal. You know, he was on like a nine fight knockout streak before he ran into Chris Camozzi, and he won that one by decision. So, well deserved. But there is some shit on this rankings that just really chaps me, dude. So, where do we want to start? We want to start with featherweight. Why don't we do that? Over the weekend, we had Brian Duran beat the #1 contender in the featherweight division, Louis Lopez. If I called Louis Lopez and asked him, do you believe you should still be ranked #1 in the Bkfc featherweight rankings? He himself would tell you absolutely not. The dude has lost 2 in a row, all right? It's a fact. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Kai Stewart has won. Absolutely, he's the champ. So he maintained the #1 position when he lost to Kai. But now he just fought a unranked Brian Duran. Does anybody understand that Brian Duran wasn't in the top 5 before he fought Louis Lopez, the ranked #1 guy in the division? And he beat him, finished him. 6th finish in a row, and he's now 3-0 in the featherweight division. Brian Duran sits at #5. Somehow, some way, Louis Lopez remains the #1 guy ranked in the featherweight division. No way I can make sense of that. You want me to make sense of it? It's impossible. It's absurd. It's crazy. Whoever is voting in this ranking committee is missing. They are asleep at the wheel. That's a term that I like to use, that we like to use in the Army. Sleep at the wheel. This is just somebody that's going through the motions. You know what I'm saying? They're not analyzing. They're not even looking at it. They're just throwing their vote in willy-nilly, and they're screwing people over that are working hard to make it to the top of those rankings. When it comes to making matches for title fights, the 1 through 5, top 5, should mean something. It should mean something, and anyone in that top 5 should be eligible for a title shot, which is okay with me because Brian Duran does sit at #5. Brandon Allen sitting at #2. Howard and James Brown both deserve to be there. But the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 absolutely should not be Louis, Allen, Davis, Brown, Duran. Davis is coming off a loss. Louis coming off a loss. Brandon's been on a run. Duran's been on a run. It should be Brandon #1, Brian Duran #2, probably Louis Lopez #3, Howard Davis #4, James Brown #5. That should be the top 5. You want me to make sense out of that? It's impossible. It's absolutely crazy. I wish I could call Louis right now because he would confirm to me that he shouldn't be the #1 contender right now. The guy that just beat him was unranked. All right, so let's move on from that. Let's move up to the 165 division. I'm looking at that one. This one kind of chaps my ass a little bit. Austin Trout is the new champ. Jake Lindsay, #1, great. I love that. Carlos Trinidad Snake, good, #2. Rico Franco, #3. Elvin Brito remains in the top 5 at #4. And then sitting at #5, a guy who's not even in the company anymore, is not on the roster. David Feldman came out on our show and has said it a couple times. Gogo is no longer with the company. He has been stripped of the title. He has since fought for another organization. And when we asked David Feldman himself if Gogo will be back, he said it doesn't look like it right now. Maybe he will, but the way he left, probably not. So how does a guy who isn't with the company anymore, that wasn't in the top 5, or maybe he was, he should be removed from the rankings, right? All he's doing sitting at number 5 right now is blocking a guy like Dustin Paige, who's been fucking working his ass off for this company, fighting his way up to try to make it in that top 5 and get himself in the title talks. A guy who is no longer with the company is just sitting there blocking a spot for a guy like Dustin Paige, and the whoever's voting on these top 5s is ignoring that, completely ignoring that. Absolutely crazy. Somehow, some way, Quentin Henry remains at number 5 in the cruiserweight division. Quentin Henry hasn't fought in 16 damn months. Hasn't fought in 16 months, and his last fight was controversial as hell. So a guy that's sitting at 16 months inactive for the company is maintaining a number 5 spot right there. When you got a guy like Leo Bercier, who's been fucking working his way up the ranks, finishing people. He just had an exciting fight with Steve Townsend. He's not in the top 5. Esteban Rodriguez, another guy who could be considered for that number 5 spot. He should be in the conversation, but no. Quentin Henry's holding the number 5 spot. Somehow that makes sense. You want me to make sense? It's impossible. I don't know. Luis Palomino is sitting at number 1 now. He's no longer the champion at 155 according to the rankings there, but Luis Palomino is sitting at number 1. Number 2, Tony Soto. Number 3, James Lilly. Number 4, Bryce Henry. Number 5, Bobby Taylor. Luis Palomino came out and said that he's done with 155. He told us. I don't know if he's being serious, but he said, I'm done with 155. I'm going to focus on 165. I'm vacating the 155-pound title. They could fight for it. So he goes out there and he fights Austin Trout, doesn't win the title, and bumps everybody in the 155 division down the ranks because he is no longer champion. He's going to all of a sudden take the number 1 spot in the... Hold on. Someone's calling me. He's going to take the number 1 spot in 155. Tony Soto, who worked his ass off to get to the number 1 spot, had the number 1 spot for about, a month? But all of a sudden he drops down to 2 because Palomino vacated the freaking title, and that makes him slide down to number 1? What? He said that he's done with 155. If he's done with 155, pay attention. It shouldn't even have affected those rankings. If anything, Bryce Henry should have moved up to number 3. This is crazy. Let me see. Let me take a look and see if any of these actually make any sense. All right, let's go. Let's see if heavyweight division, they still got Alan Belcher in there. Alan Belcher ain't with the company anymore. He was stripped of his title. He's fighting for Game Bread. He still maintains a top 5 spot in the heavyweight division, blocking somebody that maybe should deserve that one. The women's strawweight division. Now, Taylor Starling has made her debut, right? She is in the 115-pound division now. Her first fight was against the number 1 ranked fighter in the 115-pound division, Jenny Savage. You take a look at these top 5, and I know people will be like, well, she only has 1 fight in the division. She shouldn't be ranked. I call bullshit. Jamie Hinshaw has two fights. Melanie Shaw has 3. Poe Denman has 2. Fanny Palumpi has 2. Or Fanny Palumpi has 1. So it's like nobody has a ton of fights. Taylor Starling just fought the number 1 ranked strawweight. Why wouldn't she be in the top 5? And why would Poe Denman, who's holding a title in Thailand, be sitting at number 4? It should, like, if it was, Taylor Starling should be number 1 right now, even with just one fight. It doesn't matter. You got to shake up the division. Taylor Starling beat the number 1 ranked fighter. She should be number 1. Or Poe Denman should be number 1. Taylor number 2. Jenny number 3. Melanie number 4. Fanny Palumpi number 5. That's how it should be. You asked me to make sense of these rankings. I hate to tell you guys, it's friggin' impossible. It's impossible. I believe they need to reevaluate how they're getting these rankings made, because at this point, these rankings are just a conversation piece, because you can't justifiably make title fights off these rankings the way they're sitting right now. It wouldn't make any sense, because if you were a matchmaker and you were given the featherweight rankings right now, and they said, hey, and you said, hey, take this. If I told you, here, take these rankings and book a fight between the champion and somebody in that top 5, you would look at that, not knowing anything about these top 5, and you'd go, oh, well, Louis Lopez is number 1, so him. But no, that shouldn't be the way it is. All this does is stir shit up. Stir up the hornet's nest. It creates a conversation, which I guess is good because people are talking about it on the internet. But let's be honest, man. There's not a lot of sense to be made. I do like the middleweight rankings. I do like the bantamweight rankings. No. Let's go. And this is my last rant of this video because it's getting a little long. Ryan Reber is now 5-0 at 135. He should be the number 1 ranked guy, I think. Maybe Reggie maintains that number 1, but Reber should at least be number 2, if not number 1. That's another thing that's being ignored. I think the voting members are looking at names and they're just fans. I don't know. They must be. They must just see that. Because let's be honest, Reggie's performance against Daniel Alvarez was not awesome. That was a sloppy fight between those two guys, and then he came out and he got beat in the next fight against Keith Richardson, and Keith made it kind of look easy. So, Reggie's coming off of back-to-back not so great performances. And the fight before that was a tight decision win over Herrera. So Ryan Reber at 5-0 with 5 wins in the division is not at the top? What? I don't get it. So there you go. You asked me to make sense of the rankings. I'm telling you it's impossible. There's a few divisions out there that I do like. And I hope that they maybe see this and they take it into consideration, that somebody who is like super analytic and really lives and breathes this sport and loves all these guys that put their life on the line to try to make it into the top 5 or make it to the top of the rankings and try to get themselves a world title and try to change their lives for their families and whatnot. And they're getting blocked by asleep at the wheel voting members of some unknown entity that is making these rankings. It doesn't make sense. Tell me in the comments of this if you agree with me, you disagree, do you love these rankings? Do you think they're perfect? What do you think should change about them? Should the rankings just go away and we just go back to having a roster and making fights off that roster? Let me know what you think, because at this point, you asked me to make sense. I say it's impossible.